Payments modernization, and especially real-time payments, provides for credit unions a great opportunity to reimagine how they approach business. The use cases are varied, B2B, how we work with partners and vendors, to B2C, and how we want to reimagine experiences for our members themselves. Toby, maybe you can start talking about B2B experiences.
Sure, George. The real-time payment rail opens up a lot of opportunities for business-to-business or B2B type of payments. I first want to talk a little bit about the difference in the payment, where the information and the payment can all go in one message. So the ability for the credit unions to be able to send a lot of information along with those types of payments to their vendors or other businesses opens up a whole lot of opportunity. The current payment flows, for example, today are very fragmented or segmented. You get a payment in one message, you get the invoice information, for example, in another, remittance information in another, and the accounts receivable and accounts payable. Ask anyone in those departments and they can tell you how fragmented that is. But with the real-time payments network, they can send all of that type of information in one message. So an invoice could be sent along with the payment. The remittance information could be sent with the payment. And so that opens up a lot of opportunities, say, for example, for credit unions to make loan disbursements to car dealers when they're members at the car dealer to purchase a loan. So it also offers opportunity for these credit unions to pay their vendors, their contractors, whoever's providing goods or services for the credit unions. They can make those payments. So it makes the accounts receivable and account payable department much more efficient. So there was a study done recently by Level that shows 76% of businesses believe that the real-time payments with this improved information flow is going to give them a competitive advantage. So the credit unions are really going to want to take a hard look at these B2B type payments over the real-time payment rails.
Yeah, thanks, Toby. I think that there's a lot of opportunity even inside the credit union and how they're approaching payments for themselves. Keith, what about B2C? We talk about the consumers and experience. Maybe you could expand on that.
Sure. On the business to consumer side, there's a lot of activity occurring within the RTP network today related to B2C. So what that means is that is really started at that level with things like account-to-account transfer. We've mentioned PayPal and Venmo and other account-to-account transfer wallets that are actually leveraging the Clearinghouse RTP network as a way to immediately move those funds from a funding account into a wallet and vice versa. So the consumer has the ultimate control over their cash flow and can immediately use that. The immediacy or access to funds within wallets like that, Venmo and Cash App, it ranges from 35 to 40% of their revenue is based upon instant deposit or instant drawdowns of those types of transactions. So the immediacy that we've spoken about earlier is never more prevalent than in the account-to-account transfer use case. The other aspect that is growing dramatically in opportunity is what we'll call the gig economy. So those employees that either have W-2 employment as well as contract employment or actually have a series of contract employments that they do. But they want to get their funds as fast as possible and even when the shift ends and pushing those funds to them. So the RTP network offers an opportunity, and there are payroll processors that are being added to the network for this, to push the funds to that consumer so it lands in their checking account they have with the credit union or the institution versus having to go on necessarily a payroll card for that to occur. So I think those are some fundamental use cases that are impacting businesses and how they interact with consumers and consumers in their use of funds. The other aspect that's changing and will continue to change the way that consumers and billers interact is what Toby had referenced on the B2B side with this information flow. And it's request for payment is the technical term for it. And it's going to re-engineer the bill payment platform and the way that folks expect to have immediacy and simplicity and transparency as part of their ongoing bill payment environment. Being able to remit a bill to a biller and have the transparency of that coming back to tell me it's been posted and here's the account number, and maybe even building in information that makes them more aware about the services that that biller offers. So those on the information flow and some very fundamental use cases are driving B2C activity today.
Yeah, a lot of examples of use of real-time payments to move the transactions. I know that Corporate One, I know that Sherpa, we've spent a lot of time understanding real-time payments and what's happening in the industry. What are we looking at for ourselves? What are we looking to build for our constituents? Charles, maybe you could start with Corporate One.
George, over the last 2 years, we've spent a lot of time with Sherpa working to certify our systems with the RTP network. And I'm happy to tell you that we have successfully been certified for both send, receive payments, and also as a funding agent. And when we built that system, we built it that provide us a degree of flexibility in working with credit unions and their technology partners. And certainly Keith can speak more about that in a greater level of detail, but we understand that there's not a single solution for faster payments. Some credit unions may want to work with their core or home banking provider to offer a user experience and leverage Corporate One and Sherpa, the platform for clearing and settlement. Other credit unions may need a funding agent to monitor and manage settlement accounts on a 24/7 basis. We have the flexibility to provide whatever components required. In terms of a credit union solution, we're working on implementing a full RTP solution in a phased approach. The first phase will provide access for all credit unions to make payments on their own behalf. This approach is designed to provide a level of real-time payments, familiarity, and experience for our members as we build out the system and before they make it available to their members. The initial release has the potential for replacing wires or other use cases. Next steps have the potential to expand and provide RTP use cases for business users.
That's great. And I know Sherpa has a different point of view on real-time payments and what we're delivering. Keith?
Yeah, sure. The Sherpa perspective is about enabling an open framework. So some of the use cases that Charles has indicated, it would be working with those organizations to ensure that if they want to consume those real-time payment messages, they're able to do so through that open framework. So whether it's a credit union, a digital experience provider, maybe a smaller core processor, whomever may want to participate as an ecosystem partner can do so as part of that process. And certainly we have dedicated a lot of time and effort to the information exchange I referenced a little bit earlier with the request for payment, and looking at how that can enhance our own digital payment suite, which is the Pay-As-You platform. So building that in so you can provide the opportunity for conversational commerce as part of making a payment to a loan and building in that information exchange and bringing straight through processing to the credit unions when they are the biller is an important aspect that we're really analyzing as part of that open framework.
Yeah, thanks, Keith. I think that the messaging shows how the data is being delivered. What we actually need to know is how the money's being delivered. And Toby, maybe you could talk to us about settlement.
Sure, George. The funding agent role at Corporate One is in response to the clearinghouse's operational guidelines that allows for a correspondent relationship, allows for the credit unions to have a correspondent step in and act as an agent for them at the Federal Reserve Bank where this money is actually settling. So Corporate One has figured out how to minimize the credit union's resources that are needed, the human and technical resources that are needed to provide 24/7, 365 funding for this. There's no more weekends or cutoff dates, holidays, and so forth where these payments aren't happening or the funding needs to be present. So Corporate One has stepped in to provide that funding for the credit unions on a 24/7, 365 basis.
So we can see that there's a lot of different use cases, great examples and great information about real-time payments. There's a number of use cases that credit unions will need to pay attention to, and every credit union is unique. So make sure that you pay attention and attack the right use cases at the right time.